recording for the podcast, ASMRctica, ASMR, and for the audio platforms, albums there with audio only content. And this will be the second episode about railways, old railways on the island Öland, that is located in the Baltic Sea, very close to Sweden mainland in the southeast. So we will continue with the old railways on the southern parts of this island today. So we have the company Södra Ölands Järnväg, Southern Ölands Railway. Railways between Borgholm and Ottenby in very southern parts of Öland. And Borgholm is the main town on Öland, traditionally. Traditionally it was the biggest town, I think. Or I mean historically. So from Borgholm, if you remember from last episode, there was a railway company, a railway called Borgholm Böda Railway, that started in Borgholm and continued to the north of Öland. But then there was another railway company, the Southern Öland Railway, starting in Borgholm as well. So both the railway companies' tracks met there and went to the southern parts of Öland. And this Södra Ölands Järnväg was a 96 kilometer long, narrow railway. So the width of the tracks were not the standard width, that is 1.4 meters or something like that in Sweden. It was only 891 millimeters, so less than 1 meter. And then it was called small spår, narrow width, narrow tracks. And this part was opened in 1909 and it was finished in 1910, so very quickly it was constructed. And just like we did with the northern parts, we will now, or I will look at some maps from 1942 over Sweden, very detailed maps where you can see the railway, because the railway isn't there today. It was constructed in 1909, but then it was closed and the tracks were removed in 1961. But on these maps from 1942, you can very clearly see the tracks and all the stations and all the stops as well. So it was very cool to find these maps that you can download over entire Sweden. But I have downloaded the parts on Öland now for this episode. And I will compare this map with a modern map, Google Maps, a satellite view, where you can also see very detailed how it looks today, the same area. So I can compare and see if I can find some traces of the old railway that was there 61 years ago. It was there. If you still can see something that reminds you of the old railway. Also, I was visiting Öland a couple of weeks ago together with a friend, and we were traveling along the old island, both to the north and to the south. And it was very interesting to start to look for these places where there had been a railroad in the past. But let's start again in Borgholm, the most northern point of this Southern Ölands Railway. And the station in Borgholm was located exactly at the same spot. They shared the same station, both the the Borgholm Railway and the Southern Ölands Railway. So you can see on the map from 1942 that the station was located at the northern parts of Borgholm, and it looks almost the same today, because to the north of this point there's just water, the coast, so it hasn't changed so much since 1942. But instead of a railway station today, it's the main bus station at Borgholm, at exactly the same spot. And from this point, when the Northern Railway continued to the east, straight to the east, this southern part turned turned right, and then continued to the south immediately after Borgholm station. And the first stop, as I can see here, is located very close to Borgholm station, and it's called Villastads station or stop. Or just Kolstad probably. But on the map from 1942 it says Kolstads Villastad, so it's like a suburb, an old type of suburb I guess, with only villas. And today this is definitely part of Borgholm. But it's like where the buildings go from being like town buildings to more like separate houses, smaller houses. And it doesn't say anything about Kolstad today on today's map. So I guess it was like a separate place. In 1942 it was considered to be outside of Borgholm, but today it's definitely considered to be just a part of Borgholm, which has grown since the 1940s. And the stop Kolstad was located where the railroad met a road, quite a big road, and I can see the same road today. It's Storgatan actually, so it's the main road, the great road, or something like that, big road, Storgatan. So if you today drive at Storgatan, you should pass the old railway, I guess, where it meets Östra. Yeah, of course. That's cool. I see now that the road is called Östra Järnvägsgatan, Eastern Railway Street. So that means that the railway should have been located at the west along this road, Östra Järnvägsgatan. Yeah, and the other road is called Västra Järnvägsgatan, West Railway Road. So between those two, where it's today like a gym, looks like. Yeah, between there, the station should have been in the 1940s, where those streets meet Storgatan, Kolstad's stop. And now we're leaving Borgholm and continue the railway to the south. And the next stop will be Räpplinge station. A station by the fields, farming fields, in something called Svarteberga and Kärr. Two names I can see here. So okay, it's a bit north of the village Räpplinge, Räpplinge was a quite big, no, not big, but it was at least a village with a couple of houses. But the station was located more to the north, where there were less populated area, and closer to the village called Svarteberga, or the farm. That's maybe just one farm or something, farmhouse. Svarteberga and Kärr. Let's see how it looks today. Yeah, Räpplinge. I find Räpplinge church. But then we should move. Now I'm at Google Maps, satellite view. Then we should move to the north, and there we have Svarteberga. And it looks like there's a road today where no, it's not a road today where the old railway was. It's just nothing. I can't see any trace of the old railway on Google Maps. So it was just passing all these fields, I guess. Open fields in the countryside. But if we would look for the station Räpplinge, how could I find it? Yeah, I can see it's a road between first it's a road between main road 136 to Räpplinge church, and from that road I can't see it has a name or anything or a number, but from that road goes a road to Svarteberga, and that road has the same route as in 1942. I recognize the shape of it, the curves and everything. And actually I can see something now. If we go just, what could it be, like 50 meters or something, very, very close to this unnamed road that we turned to, that we went at and turned to the east towards Svarteberga, but we don't go, we don't follow it for very long. Then we cross something that I can see on Google Maps satellite view. There is actually a trace of something. You can see on the trees. There are not many trees growing here, but some trees. It's like an alley or something. There's still a trace. There had been a railway embankment here. That's very cool to see. So just in the middle of nowhere here, there was a station. Because south of where this road towards Svarteberga meets this railway embankment, we find the first house to the south. Some farmhouse there, and that's where Räpplinge station was located. But it's just an ordinary farmhouse now. I can't see any trace in the name. I don't see any names here at all. It's like in the southern parts of Svarteberga. So I can't really tell you more in detail where it's located, but you can actually see it. The first house you pass, if you start at 136 main road, and then you come from Borgholm towards the south, then you turn left on the road that leads to Räpplinge kyrka, Räpplinge church, and then take left on the small road that leads to Svarteberga, and then immediately turn right, but then you can't go by car because it's not a road, but you walk towards the south a couple of 100 meters. Then you will come to a house at the countryside, a couple of houses, and the first houses you meet here is where the station was located. That's my detailed description of this location. And we continue to the southeast from Räpplinge station, and actually now we're in Äpplerum, a place I have been visiting with my friend. We were driving through Äpplerum, and the railway was here very, very close to Äpplerum, but there was no station called Äpplerum or a station there. It just passed this place. But if you follow me on Instagram or TikTok, you can find a short video clip from Äpplerum there. But we continue following the railroad in 1942, and then we will reach Ölands Lindby station. And let's compare the location to a modern Google Maps satellite view. We still have the same road leading from Räpplinge through Äpplerum to Sörby, and then it connects to the eastern main road at Öland in Sterlinge. But in the middle of this road, between Räpplinge and Sterlinge, Räpplinge on the west side of Öland and Sterlinge on the east side of Öland, because Öland is very narrow and it's not far from the west side to the east side. And we have something called Lindby. And somewhere in Lindby we should have the old station Ölands Lindby. And I can see where it is actually, because the road has been reconstructed and it's more straightened today than it was in 1942, but you can still see the old road making a curve on Google Maps. It goes like to the northeast a bit, and then it's parallel to the modern road. I still recognize this shape, so this is the old part of the road. Today it's just a local small road that just leads to one house, it looks like. But it helps me to find the spot where the railway was located, and it's where this road that doesn't seem to have a number or name. Yeah, maybe it's H925. H925. Where this road meets Sätravägen. This road cross, we have old Ölands Lindby station. And it should be south of the main road, H925. And I can see a house there, quite big house from above with the orange roof. Could be that building, maybe. Looks like, to me, it looks like a bit like a station building. I can imagine it had been a station in the past. Okay, let's continue to the south, to the next station. I follow the railway and it passes Gårdby, Jämjö, Galtorp, and it looks like the next station is located here in Sätra. But the station is called Gårdslösa. But I can't find Gårdslösa in the surroundings. Something called Gårdslösa. It's just Sätra, it says here. But maybe it has to do with the how these sheets are cut, because this station is located in the very corner, the southeastern corner of this map. So I can't really see what's south and east of it. Maybe Gårdslösa is a small village to the east. But let's see. Let's compare with the modern map. So here I will follow Sätravägen to Gårdby. Sätra. Yeah, I find Sätra here because of course Sätravägen leads from the road we were traveling along, H925, to Sätra. And in Sätravägen meets Karumsvägen. And Karumsvägen, I guess, is the same road as I see here in 1942 that leads from Sätra to Gårdslösa to the west. And the station should be just south of Karumsvägen. Yeah, and of course the railway was located a bit to the east of today's Sätravägen, and I can still see it on Google Maps because there are trees following a straight line, north, south, and straight line through the fields, so it's definitely visible today where it was located. And where this line meets Karumsvägen in Sätra, it also meets the diagonal road Sätra Bygata that changes name after Karumsvägen to Kvistorpsvägen. So this is like a little center of Sätra, I guess, because here also we have some thrift shop, thrift store, and a small bed and breakfast also today. So the station should be located I can't see exactly where, but it should be south of Karumsvägen. And today it's just like a couple of houses there, and it's a road that does a loop, so it doesn't lead anywhere. It's a road going south of Karumsvägen, just making a loop, so you can turn around and go back. So I guess it's here somewhere. It should be here. where this loop meet the trees that goes in a quite much in a straight line from north to south. There are a couple of houses there. 2 houses I can see. So maybe one of those was the station in the past. Looks like this has been the main function as some kind of center in this village, etc. It was called Gårdslösa station, so maybe Gårdslösa was an older name, because the map is from 1942 and the railway was constructed in 1909, so maybe Gårdslösa was something they used to call this area in the past. And let's continue to the south. Over the fields in Högtomta, Kvistorp. Remember we were talking about Kvistorpsvägen earlier. And Långlöt station we will reach. And it's located close to Åstad. Small village, or just a farmhouse, or a couple of farmhouses together. Yeah, I guess it's a village, but it looks like a quite small village. And it's still very easy to see on today's satellite photo that where exactly the railway was located, because it's still it's like an area of 2 parallel lines of small trees, I think, with fields on each side. But it's like, the thing is, like, you can see it has probably been a road here, or some type of road in the past, because it's like double lines. And when this line meets a road that I unfortunately haven't found a name for. Vedbygatan, maybe. Vedbygatan, that goes from Vedby to Långlöt. Långlöts mosse. The main road on the east of Öland is called Långlöt mosse, according to Google Maps. I don't know why, because mosse is not something that a road usually is called. Mosse is something else, it's a type of landscape. But okay, in Åstad. We're in Åstad, and we are at the point where Vedbygatan meets this the traces of the old railway. There we should have Långlöt station to the south of Vedbygatan. And today, to the south of Vedbygatan, it's actually a road. To the north it's not a road, you can just see the traces of the old railway. But to the south it has been reconstructed as a road for cars, as a street. Yeah. And it's called Björkerumsvägen. So that's interesting. So now we will follow Björkerumsvägen. Yeah, one house there by Björkerumsvägen, just south of Vedbygatan, is located very, very close to the street. Or 2 houses I can see are like really facing the street. Maybe one of those was the station here in the past in Långlöt. And I can't see the reason why the station was called Långlöt and not Åstad. But we will follow Björkerumsvägen. That is the old railway to the south and see where we land. The railroad passes Björkerum, Peterslund, Spjutterum, and in Spjutterum there's a station called the Runsten station. So let's take a closer look at this area. It was spelled with 2 T's in 1942, Spjutterum. Today on the map it's just spelled with 1 T, so I would pronounce it Spjutterum if I would just see the modern spelling. Spjutterum or Spjutterum. But the road actually passing Spjutterum is called Spjutterumsvägen. I'm not sure why it's spelled in 2 different ways. In Spjutterum we could definitely see that there has been a center where the two most important roads meet, the Spjutterumsvägen and Mejerivägen. Seems like there are a lot of mejerier here. I'm not sure the English word for that, mejeri, where you produce milk, dairy products. Mejeri, I will look it up. Yeah, dairy. It's called dairy. Okay. North of this road cross that I mentioned, Mejerivägen, Spjutterumsvägen, we have the Nya Bastgatan. Nya Bastgatan today, and this was not a road in 1942 because this is where the railway was. So it's a new road, not new, but younger than 60 years. Oh wait, 60, not 60, it's younger than 80 years, I mean. Yeah, there's a bus stop here called Spjutterum. So Spjutterum's bus stop is located where Runsten's station was located. Runsten is actually a farmhouse located more to the east, along the main eastern road in Öland. Runstens church and Runstens farmhouse. So I guess since the church in this area was called Runsten, the station was named after that, because it was like the main village or the main name for the area, even though the station was located in the smaller village Spjutterum. But Runsten is not a really big village either. But it's interesting because Runsten means a rune stone, so I guess there should be a rune stone here somewhere, or it had been in the past maybe. From the Runsten station we follow the tracks to the south. And next stop will be Ölands Bäck stop. Ölands Bäck. And in this area there is absolutely nothing in 1942. It's just a stop among the fields. A small building I can see if I zoom in. So it was basically just a stop. No village around it. You have to walk a road for a little while to the east to reach Åkerby. There we had the main village. But the stop wasn't called Åkerby, it was called Ölands Bäck. And Bäck means a small creek. So probably there is a small creek here. Or a brook. And the roads look basically the same today. I can see where the railroad tracks were located because it's a road there. Or no, yeah, it's a very small road just leading to the fields. So not like a official road or anything. Just a private road for the farmhouse, I guess. Yeah. Ölands Bäckvägen, the road is called today, so it reminds of the station. Actually, there is a village called Norra Bäck if we go quite far to the west. So it must be from this village the stop was named, even though Åkerby is much bigger village and much closer. Where Ölands Bäck Hållplats was located, there's actually a house today. Part of a farmhouse. I don't know what type of house it is, but I don't think it's like yeah, I can't say from above here, the view from above, what type of house it is. But to me it doesn't look like a house where the main building where people are living. It's more like a house for, I don't know, storing things or for animals, or but I'm not sure. And it's a much bigger building than the small one from 1942, so I guess it's not the same building. So from Ölands Bäck stop, we follow the railway over a lot of open fields again. And its route is a bit west to the main road for cars. And it passes close to a village called Bettorp, but not exactly in the village. And then the next station is Norra Möckleby, Northern Möckleby. And it looks like that's a quite big village, actually, with a school and some bigger buildings centered around the church here that is located in where the main roads are meeting. And the station is located a bit to the west from this main road crossing, where the railway crosses the road western parts of the island. And on the Google Maps, the route of the old railway is still very visible here, but it has not been transformed into a road. It's just visible as some kind of embankment or alley for trees, or you can see it very clearly in the landscape. So I guess you can, if you go here, you can walk and follow it quite well. Right through all these farming fields, almost parallel to the main eastern road here. I can't find a good name for this eastern road. Guess it should have a number at least. What if I check on OpenStreetMap? OpenStreetMap. Here we have the main road to the east. Yeah, it's called H925. So road H925 is almost parallel to the coast on the eastern side of the island. And the railroad at this part was parallel to this road, but a bit to the west. And yeah, we were talking about Norra Möckleby station. Now we're actually in Borgholm municipality. Öland is today divided into two municipalities, only two. Borgholm to the north and Borgholm to the south. In the past there were a lot of more municipalities, but they have been merged together to bigger entities. And the road I was talking about that connected this H925 road to the western parts of the island is actually called H957. I can see here on OpenStreetMap. And it leads to Färjestaden, this big town on the western coast. So in Norra Möckleby, along H957 road between Norra Möckleby and Bröttorp, we had the railroad crossing the road and the station Norra Möckleby. There's also Södra Möckleby on Öland, but it's located much more to the south. So I will now check Google Maps, and we will take a look how it looks just here where the station was located. Okay, so it's a house there, a collection of houses south of this road, H957. Some 100 meters probably from H925. And the railway continues to the south. And now actually it starts to follow H925 visible from that road here in Bröttorp. Okay, it says Bröttorp here on the map from 1942, but I guess it's more considered to be Norra Möckleby today. And Dörby. At Dörby, the old railway finally meets up with the road H925. I can't see the name Dörby on the modern map. I guess it's now... Yeah, I could find it. It's a bus stop there. A bus stop along H925 called Dörby. But anyway, it wasn't a stop for the train, so we will just continue now along H925. So it's much easier to follow the old railroad now when we have this main road to follow. And yeah, it's still visible on Google Maps where the railway was exactly where it had its route. You can see it in the landscape. Then we reach Gårdby station, and it's located in the northern parts of the village. Gårdby is a quite big village, but the church and everything was located more to the south, because here the railway did a very sharp turn. So instead of following the direction to the south, we take a turn and it will go straight to the west now. So it didn't really met Gårdby, the central parts of Gårdby. It had its station here in the northern parts of the village. And yeah, in Gårdby, in the northern parts of Gårdby village, we have a road called Stationsvägen. So that's a proof that here the station was located. It's the station street, it means. And there's a building there, two buildings close to each other. That maybe could be at least at the same spot as the old station. It's like there are some food stores here. Gårdby Lanthandel. A bus stop called Gårdby. So there are some service here. So maybe some kind of old center of this part of the village where the station was. And now we follow the railway from Gårdby to the west. Over the open fields. Again. And we cross a road close to the village Torp. Or if it's just a farmhouse. Or a couple of... Looks like there's a couple of buildings there in Torp. And the road we are crossing has the number 955, H955. And we continue through the forest. The landscape is changing here from the open fields near Ullevi to the forest of Gårdby. And we will reach the next stop called Lenstad, where we have a small building. And now I want to find the location for Lenstad. Stop on Google Maps. And I'm a bit lost here actually. We're in the middle of the forest, in the center of the island of Öland. No big roads, no main roads. You can see a very, very small lake on the map from 1942 called Revkär. It's not even a lake, I guess. It's just a pond or something very small. Wonder if I can find Revkär on Google Maps. If I switch to map instead of satellite, maybe. Rösselkärret, it says. Another name. Maybe it's not the same. Buserum. See if I can find Buserum. Rösselkärret is close to Buserum. I find it on the map from 1942. Then I have a fixed point, a reference point. And if I move to the southwest, we should have a Revkär. And I think I can see it now on Google Maps. It's not open water at all. It's like a small piece of visible water, but then it's just filled with some, I don't know what to call it, but it's some plants or plants growing in the sea or like in lakes, small lakes in the forest. So it's totally covered. And yeah, it's a kärr, Revkär, so it's not a lake. I want to translate kärr to English, so maybe you get an idea of what type of water collection it is. Kärr in Swedish is marsh, yeah. Marsh, swamp, bog. So that's what it is. But I still haven't found the place where the railway was. I have to continue in the same direction, southwest for a while. But this is really in the middle of nowhere. I can't believe there had been a train stop here in the forest. It's a nature reserve here called Lenstad Nature Reserve, and it's something interesting here called Lenstad Borg. And Borg in Swedish, it's a fortress. What is that? A historical landmark. When I click on it, so it's an old remains of some old fort or something. I have no idea how old it is, but all you can see now on the landscape is some remains of of stones in a wall. That probably had been a wall or something. Very interesting actually, Lenstad Borg. Maybe it would be nice to visit this place in Lenstad Nature Reserve. And there should be some open fields, at least in 1942, around Lenstad's train stop. Yeah, I can see Lenstad Borg here in 1942 as well. So now I have another reference, and this was, I think, the hardest spot to try to find, to locate in this area so far. There are no roads, there is just nothing here. It would be nice if I can find a building, because there have been buildings here. Something called Holmen. Even though the stop is called Lenstad, I can see that the closest farmhouse is called Holmen. I will switch now to OpenStreetMap. See if I can find Holmen. Yeah, I think I can. No, I think I can't. This one was called Smedsgärde. Okay, Smedsgärdesbacken I can find on 1942. And yeah, there I see it, Smedsgärde. Another reference point here. Smedsgärde, both in modern map and 1942 map. Now I follow the small road that is leading to Smedsgärde. I follow it to the west. Then I should arrive to Lenstad. And here we have it, Holmen, on OpenStreetMap. And I can see now that a diagonal line that used to be the railway is here, marked as a small path, like a walking path. No road or anything, but I think you can walk in the forest and follow the old railway embankment. So yeah, and we also have a creek here. So between the creek and Holmen and this very straight line path, we should have Lenstad stop. So I found it finally. It's south of Lenstad's nature reserve. And we follow this diagonal line through the forest to the west and see what next stop could be. Yeah, on Google Maps satellite view it's quite easy now when you know it to recognize this diagonal line. It's totally straight through the forest, but you can still see the trees are growing in a way that you see some, it looks like a shadowed line somehow in the middle of the forest. So you follow that line and you will reach the next village, Skogsby, Torslunda. It's like two villages, it looks like, that have been combined. So Torslunda to the north, Skogsby to the south, but it's no, you can't see they are separated in any way. It looks exactly like the same village. And the railway was passing the main road here, 136. Yeah, 136 is actually the main road. We have been following it before, actually, in the northern parts of Öland. It's a main road following the western coast of Öland. So, between Skogsby and Torslunda, if we imagine there is a border between these villages, we had the railway crossing. Today at this spot we have Skogsby Centrum bus stop. So the center of Skogsby. The station was called Ölands Skogsby station. And today we have a store, a department store here. And the road following the street, is called Järnvägsgränd. So railway street or railway alley or something. Smaller type of street. So it's easy to imagine where the station was located. There is a house just next to the big department store by Järnvägsgränd. Maybe it could have been the station, I'm not sure. Looks like an old building. And it's facing the street that used to be the railway. And we continue the railway. So now we have a railway crossing, or we can go in two directions actually. We can turn to the south or we can continue to the northwest. So we continue to the northwest to reach the very big town here, Färjestaden. I think maybe it's bigger than Borgholm actually. And you can see on Google Maps that it's a totally straight road here in the same direction as the railway. So we just follow this road. It's called Järnvägsgatan. Very obvious. So the railway street. It's one of the main streets in Färjestaden, so we just follow it. All the way to the coast. It ends up in the Runsten, an even bigger road here, before we come to Färjestadens main port. Färjestaden means ferry town. So here were the ferries, or are still the ferries between mainland Sweden in Kalmar and Färjestaden in Öland. And today we have the bridge not far from here, but a bit more to the north. So it has been and is still a very important port for boats and ferries. And this is not the last stop, but it's like a dead end station here. So you can't continue in any direction because you have reached the coast. So it was definitely one of the important stations for Southern Öland's railway. So let's see where in Färjestaden the railway station was located. It's exactly by the port. It's where Runsten and Storgatan meet, approximately. Yeah, I think I said exactly, but it should be... Yeah, this is interesting. Storgatan actually has another route today than in 1942, just at this point where the station was. In 1942, Storgatan was a long road going from east to west or west to east. But just before, if we travel from the east now towards the west, towards the coast, towards the port, just before we end up in the port, it took a turn to the left, to the south, around the station, because the station was straight ahead. And today this curve is called Gamla Storgatan, old main street. And there's another street here called Lokstallsgatan. It also has something to do with a railway, Lokstall. Where the trains were parked when they were not used. So between Storgatan today and Gamla Storgatan, there's like a parking, quite open place and an old building. I'm not sure if this building is the same as the old station. That would be cool. But I only see the buildings from above when I'm looking at Google Maps satellite view. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, the second episode about Ölands railways. Next time we will take a look at the very southern part of this railway, the southern branch from Färjestaden to Ottenby. So